Today's topic of discussion is incel mentality. So for the past week or so, I must have jumped on TikTok lives. It's the first time I've ever done it. And I came across these incel type groups. So in this video, we're going to be discussing some key points in terms of why these incels are constantly blaming women and how they're spreading poison within our communities. So first point is TikTok. So I'm going to play this 1 minute clip of this TikTok live I joined. So I'll play it now for you guys.
Even the Muslims ones, bro. Yeah, it is what it is.
Women or women, listen, women or women. Women or women.
You heard it loud and clear.
Even the Muslims.
Once you understand that.
The hijab don't mean nothing.
Once you understand
Yeah,
women,
it means something.
quite simple.
You know, the hijab.
It's for the
means
hair, bro.
something
The
to
hijab is
Let
just
me
for
say
the
this.
hair.
Let me
Bad
say
hair,
this.
bro.
The hijab means something to the simp, to the man that doesn't know women's nature. The man that doesn't really look at nature. That's what it means to me.
Exactly.
Religious women are the promiscuous women. And anonymous, what these guys
They're
are telling
super
your class.
freaky, man.
Listen,
Why?
Let me say this. Let me say this,
I'm gonna
Tim.
tell
Tim, let me
you
say
why,
this to
brother.
you.
I'm gonna
Let
tell
me
you why,
let,
brother.
let me say this real quick. Hold on.
It's
Let
not
me say
even
this real
women's
quick.
psychology, brother. Hold on, Chernobyl. Let me be finished, brother.
Okay, so you guys are back now. You've had a watch of it. So on that TikTok, right, there's these incels who do these daily TikTok lives for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, 18 hours plus in the day, near enough nearly every day. I mean, these guys are so pathetic. They literally, all they talk about is BBC. Now, I don't want you guys to type that on the internet because it's just filth. Now, the whole topic of discussion is these guys here have an agenda. Their agenda is to spread more hatred amongst communities, create a false narrative, and to say black people get all the women. The issue is, right, these guys are not only talking about fornication, sleeping around, XYZ, they're exposing people's sins, so like Muslim women in particular. And this guy here, right, who's the host, he must have had me on there a few times where I was labelled the antagonist because I've got the opposing view. So you've got the good side, which is promoting good morals, good ethics, not fornicating with women. And then you've got the evil side, which is fornication, degeneracy, sleeping around. The issue is, these people here, as soon as I started coming on, I started spitting some facts, backing up with stats. They got really, really uncomfortable. They couldn't handle it. And then what happened was, during that live, that was probably like the last live I had with that set of people. He must have blocked me. And then his last words was, "This guy's a real threat." I mean, this is it. These guys here, as soon as somebody who's got principles, boundaries, raw masculinity comes in, steps in, starts checking these beta boys, incels, they don't like it. They don't like it one bit. And then they're talking about all types of craziness on there. I mean, I was joining these lives, right? So let's say I go to a live at 11 p.m. They're running it throughout the whole night time. And then when I start work at, let's say, 6 a.m., they're still going. And then during the day, they're still going. And afternoon, just straight up bums. This is what it is. This TikTok, right? I didn't know how bad it was until I actually started joining these lives. It's literally the worst social media platform. You know, people were telling me from a long time, they were like, TikTok is like the worst, lowest frequency people on there. I mean, certain times I'm having to repeat my points, and they kept on talking about dating, and dating is not permissible. You know, these guys, they've got TikTok brains. This is what happens when you're just consuming this filth all day long. I mean, these guys are just spreading more and more hatred every single day. They're talking about all this filth, and they're just complete degenerates. You know, and that guy there, who's the host, his name's Jules. It's nothing. I don't know why he calls himself Jules. He ain't no Jewel. He's a flipping dirty rodent. You know, he was literally having me on there to get attention, viewership, and so on. And then even in the lives, a bunch of people were sending me gifts, like these gifts, TikTok gifts, which I don't even know what the hell they are. It's like 50, 100 plus at a time. And this guy here, he started to turn on me. As soon as I started gaining influence and power over the people in the chats, the viewers and so on, they didn't like it one bit. And then what happens is these beta males, incels, tried to gang up on me. And this wasn't just like once or twice, it was like several times. I mean, it just shows you, right? As soon as a set of people are trying to gang up on one person, that right there, they feel threatened by that one individual. You know, touches on their insecurities from within. So, next point is weak. The incel blames everyone but himself. He's got weakness from within. This is what the issue is. When these guys here are literally spending hours on end on social media, using the phone, consuming filth, you know, every single day, they start seeing that and they start thinking all women are like this. All women are promiscuous. All women are sleeping around. These are the statements that these lot are making. You know, complete evildoers. That's why with social media, you need to be really, really careful with the content that you're consuming. You know, so with myself, I try and follow the Quran and Sunnah. Anything which goes against that, disregard what I'm saying. Don't listen to anything which goes against that. Because us, as Muslims who are following the deen, that comes first when it comes to moral values. Now for my viewers who are watching this, who are, let's say, not Muslim, regardless of whatever faith you are, we're trying to promote good traditional moral values. That's within all major religions. And you don't even necessarily have to be religious or even following a religion. But if you're somebody who believes in moral values, then this is the page. That's why I call it class morals. You know, with these guys, right, as soon as these guys are given a platform, these incels, they start spreading their weakness like wildfire. Now, that guy there, who's the host, he is literally pushing the narrative that Asian people can't do well with women. That black guys are superior to Asian people. And how black guys are getting all the Asian women. Which is just complete nonsense. It's false. Because in general, when it comes to relationships, people prefer their own ethnicity. You know, so if you go across the societies, let's say with white community, they're going to have a preference towards white people. black people. So let's say with Pakistanis, they're going to have a preference towards Pakistanis. Nigerians are going to have a preference towards Nigerians. English people are going to have a preference towards English people, and so on. You know, what these guys do is they start spreading their sickness, and that's why you got a bunch of people who are weak in society. You know, as soon as they start jumping on these TikTok lives, these incels, they start spreading this narrative, this disease, sickness. They start spreading it. They're like, oh, this is why we're not getting women, or women are bad, etc., etc. You know, those people there, you don't want anything to do with them. So, next point is blame. These people here, they don't want to take no accountability for their own actions. As soon as I started to jump on there and I started to talk about solutions, how to improve yourself as a man, which with my videos, it's about raw masculinity. You know, becoming the best version of yourself, how to effectively navigate today's relationships. And then these clowns, right, they were trying to ask me all types of questions. They were like, oh yeah, talk about your personal experiences, what are you getting with women, XYZ. And then when I was checking them on certain points, they didn't like it. They were like, oh yeah, this guy here is too much. So then what they do is they just try and gang up on you. That's what I knew, right? I started to really irritate these guys. Emotional weakness. You know, these beta males, all they do is just spend time on the internet all day long. You know, that's why women don't respect them. How can women respect guys who are on TikTok all day? Guys who are on social media all day? You know, because my grandparents, when they came into this country in the 40s and the 50s, literally working in factories. You know, hard slave labor jobs. And that's why women respected them. That's why women loved them. As I said, respect equals love. But the modern day beta male, modern day incel, all he does is just blame women. Now, women who are promiscuous, doing XYZ, and so on, we're not interested in those sets of women. But we don't blame all women and say all women are bad, because it's not true. It's just like how women come along and say all men are trash. You know, that was the narrative that was being pushed out. And now you got these clowns coming on the internet talking XYZ and saying all women are bad, all women are promiscuous, slating hijabi women, Muslim women. You know, these guys are literally dirty rodents of society. They ain't got no shame, they ain't got no backbone, they ain't got no gira, no protectiveness over their women. So, final point is loser. In society, there's always going to be winners and losers. Now, I don't know about you lot, but I've always strived to be a winner in all areas of life and becoming the best version of myself. You know, there's no shortcuts in this game. People are trying to look for cheat codes. People are trying to do the least amount of work. They're trying to find whatever ways they can just cheat the game. You know, you can't cheat the game. You You know, guys who are trying to cheat, guys who are trying to fake it, putting on a facade, a fake image. Those are the people who end up falling behind, and those are the people who end up falling off later on down the line. You know, it takes real character development in this game of life. You know, so as I said, in society, there's going to be winners, there's going to be losers. Certain losers, they're just blaming women all day, and certain losers have given up on women. They're like, they don't want nothing to do with them no more. So those sets of guys have given up as well. But the winners, they're going to figure out solutions. They're going to start to work on themselves. They're going to start grinding, working on their purpose. And they're going to have faith in God. Belief that God is going to reward them with a righteous partner. You know, but you just have to keep going. You just have to keep pushing. Because it's going to get difficult. There's going to be adversities. There's going to be challenges. But I don't mean that we just, as soon as we face one or two challenges, we just give up, or we just take a loss and we don't learn from it. That's not what God wants. God wants us to literally go through those challenges and adversities and become a better version of ourselves in order to become a winner. So, just to wrap up, TikTok. So, those clowns on the internet, some of them are popular as well. That one guy, what's his name? Sarah or something like that, can't remember him. He's got about 50k followers or something as well. That guy just hates religion as well. You know, coming onto these platforms, spreading hatred against religion. Started putting everyone in the same category. Trying to say all these people who go to churches, mosques, etc., they're promiscuous, they're doing bad, X, Y, Z. And then you've got the incels literally agreeing with that. You know, that's what it is. This is the war that's taking place right now when it comes to ideologies. And I'm trying my best to wipe out these beta males on these flipping social media platforms, but they're trying to gang up on me. They're trying to do all types, trying to flipping say X, Y, Z, they're going to do X, Y, Z, this and that. You know, so looking forward to it. Trust me, we ain't playing no games. The next one after that was weak. These guys have got internal weakness. Can't control their desires. Don't have no self-discipline, self-control. You know, letting women walk all over them. They get used and abused, and then they become bitter. And then they develop an incel mentality. Incel mentality, literally, you're blaming external, something which you cannot control, let's say your skin color, and you're trying to say, it's because of this reason why I don't get women. I mean, how pathetic do you have to be? You know, that can never be me. You know, blaming something that you can't control. So I've mentioned in previous videos, there's a guy called Squirmy and Grubs, the YouTube channel. Guy's in a wheelchair. You know, so when I mention certain guys like that who have got good quality women, these incels, they're like, she's a 1 in a million woman. No. He's 1 in a million of a guy in the flipping relationship. 1 in a million man. You know, it takes character development to become the best version of yourself in order to get multiple women. You know, just flipping, blaming and saying X, Y, Z. And that's what the next point after that was, blaming. So these guys here, what they'll do is they'll just blame women all day long. You know, what sort of guy is just gonna chit chat and gossip and talk X, Y, Z and just slate the opposite gender? You know, who's got time for that? Because I don't. And the guys who are watching this as well, you guys value your time as well. You ain't gonna be here talking X, Y, Z, saying craziness. Because whatever thoughts that come into your head and you say it out loud, you start to believe it. You start to think, oh, that's true. You start to look for excuses and you start to look for reasons, oh, why that's the case. Oh, I've got an incel mentality. Women don't want me because of this reason. And then these guys here start pushing their filth onto other people. You know, insecure boys, and then they're making other people feel insecure. And then the final point was loser. You know what the saying is, misery loves company. These guys here are just like little maggots roaming around on these TikTok lives saying all types of craziness. You know, they ain't got no shame. And then when guys like me come onto the platform, start challenging their dirty sickness views, they get upset. You know, that guy, the host, he was literally like, he must have said, I'm getting cooked in the chat right now. You know, as soon as I started spitting facts, started telling guys how it is, your personality, your confidence, development of character, that's what gets women. You know, these guys here, they can't take it. They're like, nah, this guy here, he's burning us. But as I said, I'm gonna wipe out these guys. These guys here, eventually they're gonna get finished off. Flipping God's gonna deal with them accordingly. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.